Hello everybody, I'm Lisanne Miller with W, Cushing and Company, and in cooperation with Rug Hooking Magazine, we are bringing to you Third Thursdays with Lisanne. I want to thank Rug Hooking Magazine for this opportunity, and I hope you'll enjoy this June session. The weather's clearing, the hummingbirds are arriving, and also it's getting very hot, and a lot of us go inside and hook. So today we're going to go over a pattern that got a lot of interest when we posted it. We're going to breathe new life into an old pattern. It's called Prudence. We have Prudence in 3 sizes. It dates back to the late 50s, early 60s, and normally it was done very graduated shades, very dull colors, but we've decided to make it new, make it modern. And after this video airs, we are going to, I have a slideshow. This was a Zoom workshop that I taught, and we have about 45 different versions of Prudence, all different ways. And since they're from all over the United States and Canada, we thought it best, I couldn't bring the rugs here naturally, so we thought it best to put it into a slide presentation. So after you learn how to do Prudence, and you can follow along if you've already purchased Prudence, and then we can go from there. But you'll see it done in a million different ways, and there are literally a million different options. First, the pattern. Prudence is a very interesting pattern. With Prudence, this is the unhooked version. Prudence, this happens to be the pillow. Prudence used to be dark, medium, light, and you would graduate down. But when you look at this pattern to make it a little more modern, to make it new, you look at these as layers. And these are all layers, your outer, middle, inner layer. And you need a constant. Your background, yes, is a constant, but within these motifs, if you pick a constant and you stick with this constant throughout, it creates unity but gives a wonderful palette. How this all started was everybody wanted to get into their stash, use their noodles, and hook a scrap rug. And as you will see, some are done that way, but the majority color planned them. So for constants, first you have to pick a background, and it doesn't have to be just one color. It can be a swatch bag of colors, a swatch bag to put together of browns, blacks. It just has to be light or dark. No medium background on Prudence. Then each of these lines is very crucial. So you can pick that each of these lines is your constant and do them in one wool, which is what I did and I will show you. Then you pick 3 colors or 3 combinations. And you can also pick 6 combinations because these are in line. And you can do it in a different way where this and this are the same, then these change colors. And then this color palette would be the same as this color palette would be the same as that. So maybe you want to pick 3 distinct colors, and I'll go over some color palettes shortly. So you don't need your constant to be these lines. Well, then your constant can be your center. Maybe you want your center to be reds. It doesn't have to be the same red, it can be all reds. And then these can be any other color that you like. Maybe you want it all blues or all greens. It's up to you. Your color choices, as I said, are endless, but you do need to pick a constant to give it a little modern look, a mosaic look. The other thing that you have to be careful of is you have to make sure each of these is outlined. Whether this is your constant or these are 3 distinct colors, you have to make sure that all these nooks and crannies are outlined. So let's show you what that looks like. Here we go. Here is my Prudence in progress. I have used 7 colors, and I'll go over that in a minute. My constant in this is my lines. This is blue spruce, the texture blue spruce. Each of these, I picked a very subtle constant. And I did do a cloud cover as my background. So what happens is each of these is outlined before I fill them in. And you can see I have gone in every nook and cranny. And this happens to be a size 6. You can do an 8, 8.5 possibly, and you can do it as low as a 4 or 5. And if you're using your cut noodles, you can use any cut you want and mix cuts. So once I outline, I pick my colors and I test my colors. This is the next size up. This is the 23 by 35. And I tested my colors down one end. So I used 3 colors. And I used a dark green, a blue purple, and then a blue green. And I moved them. So here is my dark green. Here's the blue purple, blue green. So then this came outside, this moved in, this moved to center. Again, my outlining is all the same. The next one, my center, the blue-green, moved outside, then came my dark green, then came my blue-green. So I have moved them along where this almost matches that. I used 2 different dark greens, so it didn't. So there we are. There is the first one. I didn't want every one of these to be the same. So this row, and this end row are all the same 3 colors with my constant blue spruce, moving them around. Okay? This row here, I changed the color palette up and it will mimic this, but they won't mimic across. I didn't, because it's a smaller rug, I didn't want it to be directly across. So what I did is I took this color palette and I'm going to move it here. I'm moving this color palette to here, and this color palette will move down here. You could have done it the same, it doesn't matter, but I just didn't want them like that, so I moved my palette around. And as you can see, here we have one that I've started to fill in. I did my lines, and now I'm starting to fill in. My blue, dark blue, these are all textures, by the way, and then this spring plaid, which hooks like a dyed piece of wool. So, by moving them and using textures, they're not really identical because this one doesn't look identical to this one, but they're similar. It's a nice even palette. It looks nice. It looks modern. It can go in a bathroom, a bedroom, whatever you would like. They're really nice. The pillows look nice. They look nice outside on your lawn chairs, your Adirondack chairs, or on your couch. Now, let's talk about your background. Your background, in order for this, now you've done all your work. You were real fussy. You made sure these were all done well. Well, it's all for naught if you don't bring your background in. If you don't bring that background into each of these like that and around and in, then it doesn't matter what you did here. So this is very, very important. Very important. You have to go in and around. Then if you notice, I'm starting to echo, and I'm echoing for a few rows. When I put this in, I will echo this until they meet. There's no straight fill-in. And here is one where I've echoed both sides and then right like that. So the background is there, it's your base palette, but you really don't see a lot of it. It's just there to define each of these diamonds and their distinctness. They're not all even, they're not supposed to be. That's what gives it the modern look. So now that we've done that, let's look at the color palette I chose. I chose a very soft color palette. My background is a light blue, okay? This is prep school plaid. That's my purple blue, This is my dark green, and I did use some worms or noodles from my stash. That is this, that's sweet pea. And then I use mystical plaid. A mystical plaid hooks like a dyed piece of wool, and I really love that. So in my first row, these were my 3 colors, and here is blue spruce. This is my constant. Why I picked blue spruce as my constant was because it's also blue and green. And with it being blue and green, it picks up what is around it. Sometimes it looks a little greener, sometimes it will look a little bluer. So I did deliberately pick that as my constant. My next 3 colors, vintage blue, After Hours. After Hours is another wool that is a texture, but hooks just like a dyed piece of blue. This is After Hours, hooks just like a dyed piece of blue. I did not fussy cut, I just simply cut it, put it in a pile, hooked it. And then this is Spring Plaid. Spring Plaid I love, you've seen me use it before in a single paisley and other things, because it is a herringbone, but it's also so subtle in its colors that it also hooks like a dyed piece of wool. And it looks different every time you use it, so you give the illusion of using more and different colors than you really did. And here is Spring Plaid hooked here. Here is Spring Plaid hooked here. So this is After Hours, Spring Plaid, and Vintage Blue, where this is Prep School Plaid, Mystical Plaid, Sweet Pea. So you can see the colors. So all told is 7 colors plus the back.